Strikes Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. We are now at week 3 in our 4-week series. If you're just joining us for the first time this season, we're down to 4-week series championships right now, featuring 5 bowlers. So we're into week 3, which is now the semifinal match.
And this is going to be a loud one, I can tell. This crowd is raring to go, and the roof's going to come off at the first mark.
All right, let's meet our 2 bowlers. First of all, a guy who's trying for his 2nd win in a row. He began this series as the number 3 seed, and he came up with a big come-from-behind win last week, Bob Moran.
Just a classic match for Bob Moran. He was 44 pins behind with 2 games to go, and just kept his cool and kept plugging away, and finally caught Pat Pay and went on to a victory, and he's back here to make it 2 in a row.
Bob, as you saw, from Billerica, Massachusetts, and his challenger is from Peterborough, New Hampshire, a guy who has also been here before, but it's been a little while since we've seen Dave Croumie from Peterborough.
That's right, and both the other times he's been on, he hasn't won yet, so he's hungry for that first victory, and standing in his way is Bob Moran, and Dave, of course, made the show with a 697 for a 5-game total. Not too shabby.
The runner-up of this show will receive a check for $250 in addition to a plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon, Mass. But perhaps more importantly, the winner moves into the series championship match next week against our number 1 seed, Dan Broder. And, of course, the winner of that series championship match will take home a check for $1,000 and also be our first qualifier for our season-ending Tournament of Champions. We've also got more money in the bonus ball contest coming up at the end of the show this week. We're up to $180. We hope we have some postcards from you and our big television. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But we've got what should be a great 3-string match of Candlepin bowling coming up. We'll take a brief time out and come back with string number 1. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Pat Pay defeated Bob Gosselin with a 401 triple. But then last week, after a good start, Pat fell victim to a little slump, and Bob Moran came charging from behind and beat Pat 380 to 366. So we pick it up this week with our number 3 seed, Bob Moran, and our number 2 seed, Dave Croumie. And Bob will get us started now on lane 32. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a while since we've seen Dave Croumie here on the program. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for Bob Moran, after his win last week, he is now 3-2 in his appearances on Stars and Strikes. He has appeared once previously in a series championship match, losing to Steve Vadnais, but I'm sure he'd love another crack at it. And, of course, the winner of this match goes for the big money against Dan Broder next week.
And Bob starts off with the 6-10-4-7 split. Oh, look at this.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. He deserved it.
He really way to do it. Yep. Inside of the 6-10, off the wall, and into the 4 and 7, and almost the 4.
We have a lot of folks here for this match. It's going to be pretty noisy here at Park Place Lanes.
Each of the bowlers trying to take the crowd out of the game, you know?
See if Bob can convert this one. Again, missing by 1. Give it a 6, Jack. Give it a 6. Two 10s for Bob Moran. Speaking of big crowds, if you'd like to join us here as we tape Candlepin Stars and Strikes live at Park Place Lanes on Route 28 in Wyndham, we'd love to see you. In fact, we'll be here for the rest of the afternoon. If you're free today, if you'd like to come down, it being November the 20th, we'll be taping for a few more hours this afternoon, so come on down and join us.
Nothing like a taping that's live.
That's right. Dave Croumie now. Back with us for the first time in almost 4 years, really. Last time Dave was here was February of 1985, when he lost to Steve Johnson, 392 to 374. Dave was with us one other time previous to that. In fact, the very first series championship we had on the program back in May of 1984. Dave was the number 2 seed and lost to Rich Dion, 371 to 336. In fact, interestingly enough, this is the 3rd time that Dave has qualified for the show, and all 3 times he's qualified as the number 2 seed. But he's still looking for his first win, and he struggles through a 5 box there.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a struggle, because he hit every pin he was shooting at. He was shooting for the head pin the first ball and punched out the 1-8-9. Then he elected to go on the 2-4 side, remove the 2, and then he elected to go on the 3-6 side and remove the 3 pin. It's a tough 5 box, hitting every object pin that you wanted to hit. Only problem is it was full.
Bob Moran with another split.
2-4-6.
They're getting easier. He's had splits all 3 boxes so far.
You see his high single, 200.
Want to mention again that this series championship on Stars and Strikes is being brought to you in part by the folks at Gladstone Ford Chrysler Plymouth on Route 102 in Londonderry. Tony Maceos, the general sales manager, is with us for these shows, and he'll be here next week to present the big check. And Bob Moran records the first mark for either bowler today.
And it's the replay, 1-2 pocket, and there's the result. First mark of the match.
Here she comes, I got her.
Going to have to check
There's Dottie.
Yeah, we're going to have to check this piece of wood down there to the left of the head pin. I'm sure Dave would love to see it taken out of there, and he'll get his wish. Dottie Larick. It's tough to get a camera to get a shot of her because she moves so quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can we get the slow-mo to slow her down? No?
10 for Dave. And now he'll be opposite that first mark.
There's Dave's average, 121.
Dave just missed a 700 in the roll-off, a 697.
3-6 with the 4-pin, piece of wood in between the 3 and the 4. Could help. He's going to try to split the 3 and the 6.
I was trying to remember back. I haven't had time to check it, although I will at some point. If we've ever had 2 bowlers throw 700 in the same roll-off. I believe it happened once.
Oh,
nice
nice
10 bucks. Something, I seem to remember it happening once, but I couldn't say for sure without looking.
I suppose if we really pressured you, probably could give us the date, though.
Oh, absolutely. Have to go back and research that.
Bob Moran working on a strike.
Slides to the right.
That was his problem for a while last week. He wasn't consistently on the head pin with the first ball. However, his second ball, that spare ball, was quite accurate and made some nice shots. And then eventually he started putting the ball in the pocket in the third game and was able to catch Pat Pay.
Bob, as we've mentioned, is from Billerica. His wife, Carol, has also been with us on the program a couple of times in competition. And Bob and Carol have 7 children. Big 9 drop leaving the 6-pin. Jeff, Rob, Mike, Dave, Russ, Ed, and Rich, ranging in age from 17 to 29, and I know that several of them are here.
Oh, just sliding by the 6-pin.
Bob, by the way, works at Textron Defense Systems as a business line coordinator. A defensive struggle so far. Dave Croumie, lane 32, big first ball. Deserved something better.
No, this is about the best spare leave he's had, although this is no walk in the park. 7-8, going to try to drive the ball straight through the wood into the 8-pin and have the wood take the 7. It's kind of high. Too far left.
Well, Dave's been pinning well with the exception of that second box. Still looking for the first mark, though. Dave really particularly noticeable on lane 31 when he's bowling next to the ball return. As you see, he really hugs the ball return on his approach.
Struggle right now, and the longer you go on a TV show without getting a mark, you begin to press.
The lead is 10. Bob Moran again slipping off to the right. Seen a lot of 10 boxes. Beautiful pocket hit that time for Bob, and he leaves the solid 4-pin and wood everywhere. I'm taking a walk over to get a little angle. See what's happening down there.
Come up high in the front piece of wood. Drive him back. That's where he's going.
Yep.
Now, David, here we go.
Dave's still looking for his first mark. 54 through 6. Boy, good-looking ball going in. 2-4 and the 10, and could have a shot. The angle of the wood looks good to carry the 10-pin. It's got to have that 2-pin now.
Oh, he hit it too. Dave, in his 2 previous appearances here, has only been slightly under his average. He's averaged just over 118 in his 2 previous appearances. His average is 121. But where the scores do tend to be a little bit higher here, you can get victimized even if you do have a good 3-string total.
4-8 looking at Dave this time. And there's his first mark.
Matches Bob Moran's spare in the 8th. And that breaks the drought.
Hasn't been bowling that badly. He's been around that head pin. And lucky for him that Bob Moran is hanging around as well. 11-pin lead for Bob.
And he's working on a spare. A little heavy that time.
Now, looks like the wood to the right-hand tip of the wood to carry the 6-pin. I'm afraid that wood may twist around the 2, and if he does that, he's going the opposite side. His choice was probably better than mine. Yes, it certainly was.
One thing we don't get a chance to talk about too often, we talk a lot about the people who are here, but we usually don't get a chance to talk about the people who aren't. And looking down at the list from the final roll-off, which was held at the Bolorama in Portsmouth for this championship series, there are an awful lot of familiar names as you go down the list who did not make it. Of course, only the top 5 qualify for the show now. Reggie DeLine qualified number 6. He was just 8 pins behind Pat Pay for the 5th spot. And then there were 4 or 5 bowlers very closely bunched right behind Reggie DeLine. Bob Dicker in that group, Fred Ranella, Rick Kocecki, all of whom have been here previously. A 9 for Bob Moran and a disappointing 110, but I have a feeling things are going to be fairly close here at the end of the first string.
That's a fill on Dave's spare. Look at 8. Oh, he's got the 5-9. 9 pin's going to be the problem because the ball is going to try to deflect it right by it. But he throws hard enough that he drove the ball straight through the wood into the 9.
Here it is. Not an easy shot. Beautiful pocket hit and another spare leave. This one will be a little bit more workable for Dave. And Dave Croumie is going to have the lead after this first string.
He gets this crowd behind him, too. Give him something to cheer about. 109. Anything over 1, he'll take the lead from Bob Moran. But as we know, Bob Moran does not flinch when he's behind. He was behind 44 pins last week after 1.
Watch out.
This week he's going to be a lot closer.
Yes. The difference will be just 3 after the first string. 3 marks in a row for Dave Croumie after he finally broke the ice. And there's the story at the end of 1. Dave Croumie leading by 3. Details on the bonus ball contest and our second string when we come back. 3-pin lead. Right back in the pocket.
These are some of the leaves that he started off with the first game. He seemed to put the ball in the pocket, but difficult shots. 4, 8, 10. Being on the left-hand side of the 4-pin.
Hold on. I can't
9 for Dave.
Waiting in the wings next week is the top seed, Dan Broder from Bow, New Hampshire.
Run him right down.
19 pair for Dave to start. Bob Moran had 2 marks in the first string, a spare and a strike. Dave Croumie had the 3 spares to finish the string. A light hit, but not a bad leave.
No, a cluster of 5, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. And another piece of wood coming into play here. Looks like if he's on the 2-pin, should clear the rest.
There it is. Bob Moran with mark number 3 to start this middle string, and here's another look. And as you said, right on the 2-pin. Not ordinarily the way you'd hit that without the wood.
Right. Difficult shot without the wood. Always leave that sleeper in the back.
No, it's
target. Whoa, a break there.
That's one of the few times he's slipped one off to the left side.
Yeah, it's usually to the right if he misses with the first ball. Gives himself the 1-3. Try to make it 2 marks in a row and grabbing that lead right back from Dave Croumie.
Right on target with that one. There's never a doubt. It's probably taking Bob a little while to get started because the crowd hasn't been singing to him yet. Yeah. So probably waiting for just the right moment. On behalf of everyone on Stars and Strikes, we'd like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy the week.
There's a break. Everything but the 7, and Well, let's see where the wood settles down. This could be a little more difficult than you think. Clean shot at the wood. Well, it's rolling out. It's changing by the minute. Now he's going to have to shoot right at the 7 pin. And no doubt about it.
Of course, that can only mean one thing. Turkey sandwiches next weekend.
Love those leftovers.
Better than the meal itself.
Yeah, right.
Hope everyone has a very happy and safe Thanksgiving week. And we hope you'll spend part of your Thanksgiving weekend with us. We will have our ladder championship match next Sunday at 11:30, featuring the winner of this match against Dan Broder. Again, Bob has sprayed a pin out front, and Dottie takes care of it. This is going to be a tough shot regardless. The 6-7, there is a piece of wood angled that should make it interesting.
He's going to go right at the 6 pin. That wood should come off the left, right sidewall, but whether it'll have enough to get over and get the 7, well, let's see. Ball's going to fly towards the 7 too. Oh, ball went behind it, pin went in front of it. 7 pin still stands.
And a 10.
Received another letter in the mail, this time from Lawrence, Massachusetts.
You get all the mail.
I know. Bertha, I know I'm going to butcher this last name, but I'll give it a shot. Let Bob throw his first ball.
It's Smith, isn't it?
She's going to wish it was after I get through with it. Bertha Melowinkas, I guess. Looks like W.
I'd say that's pretty close.
M-E-D-E-L. I think it's W-I-C-K-A-S.
We'll let you figure it out during this commercial break,
Okay.
and we'll have you come back and spell it again later. We're going to take a timeout. Bob Moran and Dave Croumie, each with spares up in the 4th. We'll be right back. Dave Croumie.
Bertha sent us a letter saying she has dinner in the TV room and sits and watches the show, so Bertha M. We'll call her Bertha M.
There you go.
From Lawrence, Massachusetts. Thank you for the letter. And it did say, "Hi, Doug and Dan." However, the envelope was addressed to Mr. Dan Murphy. Sorry, Doug.
That's all right. I'll get the next one. $10 for Dave Croumie.
There they go. One of them, anyways. The 5 pin leaves the 2. And covers that.
Mark number 5 for Dave Croumie.
Bob Moran is working on a spare up in the 4th.
Wants that 5 pin to go. It'll be the 5-7, but there's a very favorable piece of wood angled toward the 7 behind the 5. It's a question of where it ends up.
It looks like he goes right after the 5 pin. Might be have enough to nudge that wood into the 7 and make it 2 marks in a row. Just enough.
One thing I don't think we've ever talked about, Dan, we talked a lot about how to play shots, particularly how to play the wood, as we get another look at that one for Bob Moran. Would you ever recommend, or have you ever yourself intentionally thrown a ball slower?
Yes. I don't recommend it because, you know, you lose accuracy, but some people can do that because you learn over the years that hitting deadwood sometimes harder than normal will make it fly or not make it move as far as you want it to move and react the same. So it's, yeah, it's an advantage of that sometimes.
In fact, I believe it was Bob last week who had that happen to him. It appeared that the ball slowed down a little bit after it hit the deck, and it worked to his advantage. He's got 5 marks now in 6 frames in this second string.
They usually call for a changeup, you know?
Yeah.
Knuckleball sometimes. 7 fill for Dave Croumie. 71 through 6 frames. And right now he's got to withstand a charge by Bob Moran. Just went by the head pin. Boy, he's had some tough ones to shoot at. 3, 6, 10 with a 7, but here, the angle of the wood behind the 3, if he clips the 3 pin, it's going to jump towards the 7. No, it's too far left. Too far right, I should say.
Couple of open boxes for Dave. And Bob Moran comes up with a run of 3 marks in a row already.
All the way out, now all the way out. Come on. Come round before, Bobby.
Most recent win on that record last week against Pat Pay. Wins against Pat Pay here ought to count for 2. There haven't been many people that have done it.
And 6 more is added on to his lead, leaves himself at 3, 6, 4, 7. And Wood rolling back. 2 ways to play this one. You can split the 3, 6, or possibly inside, have the ball carry him off the 3 pin into the wood in front of the 4, 7.
Now, Bob knew that he had misfired on that one.
Bob might have hurt himself on that approach.
The lead right now for Bob Moran is 22, trailed by 3 coming into the string. Right through the center.
Let's see which side he goes, 3, 6 or the 2, 4. Oops, sliding by. 7.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
That makes the lead now an even 20. Big ball leaving the 4 pin.
Almost was left with a 4-10. He's put some balls in that pocket and it's some weird leaves, but this time he's got to cover the 4. Oh boy.
To the right.
And again.
Dave lives in Peterborough, New Hampshire, works for Brookstone. And Dave will go open again here in the 10th for a 108 and a 2-string total 221. So Bob Moran with another opportunity to add to his lead, and he's checking that approach again, making sure the slide is clean.
Come on, me, baby. Say 2 big ones. 2 big ones now. Come on.
Bob is very meticulous about his approach to the game. He takes it very patiently and methodically.
All the mechanics, if you didn't see where the ball goes, you'd think he was going to hit every time what he was shooting at, because he doesn't seem to waver at all in his approach. Sometimes it's a game of inches. Half an inch either way means the difference between a strike and a split. So 120 with 1 to go. Lead is 18 for Bob Moran.
And this time he'll shoot at the 4 horsemen.
Run it down now, run it down.
1, 2, 4, 7 on the left.
Maybe, no, just missed it. I think he thought he had it. Ball just came up a little bit short.
Last minute, the ball broke sharply to the left. Just went by the head pin.
A 10 for a 130. So here's the situation. After 2, Bob Moran at 240 and Dave Croumie at 221. A third and final string upcoming as we look for a finalist here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And there's the situation. Get a look over the shoulder of Bob Moran on lane 32.
Come on, one more.
I'll tell you, one thing that's been consistent this week to last week for Bob Moran is the fact that even though he's been off the head pin a bit, he hasn't fared too badly most of the time in terms of spare leaves.
Hey, one dangerous guy. If he gets on that head pin a little more often with that first ball, I'm sure he'd be the first one to admit that he still doesn't get that good rhythm. He has it, then he loses it.
Oh, another big break there as he clears out the back row.
1-3-6 again.
All over it now, all over it.
This time with a guiding piece of wood, and he didn't need it. Didn't even touch it. Sometimes I think psychologically it helps, though, to have something there. But he picked that one clean. Dave Croumie, yep.
Dave Croumie's got to start quick. 19 pins. And again, another split for Dave. 3-6 and the 7.
For a 10 bucks. But Dave needs marks. Bob Moran with a half Worcester on the mark.
I'd like to congratulate a couple bowlers that recently... Oh, what a spare for Bob Moran. That was quick on the half Worcester.
Took it on the inside, as so often happens.
Watch how fast this goes. Ouch. The WCBC winners, that was the event recently held in Concord at Boutwell's. For the men, it was Jeff Atkins from Springfield, Massachusetts. And for the women's side, a local bowler from Manchester, Penny Brady. Her first victory on the tour. I'd also like to congratulate Carol Downey for winning the International Cup recently in Douglastown, New Brunswick.
And you were up there for that also.
Yes. I showed up. I bowled a little bit, and then I watched. It was quite an event. It was a lot of fun.
But you enjoyed all the pageantry and scenery of
yes,
the local area.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's long days and short nights. We had a lot of fun. And they really loved their Candlepin bowling up in the provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. And some pretty fair bowlers up there.
Is there any substantial difference between the approach to the game or the way the game is viewed up there as down here?
No, well, with the exception, I think that right now they're more excited about the game than we are, if you can imagine that. The media coverage for the International Cup in the small town of Douglastown, which can't be more than 3,000 people, was tremendous. A local television station taped the entire matches, and they've built in excess of 200 lane beds in there, up in the provinces in the last year and a half. Not 200 bowling establishments, but total number of lanes, and they're really growing up there. It's great for the game.
A 9 for Dave Croumie, and we will pause right here. The difference right now is 29. Bob Moran has the lead, 6 frames to go, and we'll have those 6 frames after we have these messages. Trying to protect his 29-pin advantage. Looking for his 2nd win in a row. And a trip to the finals.
Oops, watch out. Everything but the head pin.
Boy, that ball started by just touching the head pin, and now the head pin is all that's remaining. We've seen only 1 strike in this match. And that was Bob Moran way back in the first string. We almost saw another one there.
Big 9 drop, though, and he's starting to pull away in this 3rd game. I mentioned that the International Bowling Association, the ICBA, all the wood around the 4-pin and never took the 4-pin down, has just recently made available their Learn to Bowl video. It's available at your local bowling centers. If they don't offer it, just write to us, or write to me anyways, and the addresses that we show you on the program, and I'll make sure I let you know where you can obtain the Learn to Bowl video.
And Dan is much too modest to mention it, but I feel obligated to. That the star of the Learn to Bowl video is none other than Dan Murphy. So if you can't get enough of Dan Murphy on television, this is a good way to own your very own Dan Murphy video. The album is due out when? Next year sometime?
Well, yeah, the sequel, yeah.
Dan will also be starting work on his first feature film next spring.
How to make a hole-in-one.
Oh, that's right.
That's, you know, people
Boy, you've had a
that.
lot happen to you since since the summer.
That's right.
Boy, we may as well get it all out of the way now. You became the NHCBA president in June.
Busy.
And you shot a hole-in-one. I'm sure you can tell me the exact date. As Dave Croumie comes up with a fine spare there in the 6th. We'll take another look at that one.
136 in the 8-pin. Nice shot. First mark for Dave in this final game.
Where did this all happen now?
Ivanhoe Golf Course in Hyannis, Massachusetts. That game is easy. I didn't realize it was that easy.
Reminds me of the story. It's become, I guess, somewhat of a legend as well as a story down at the Country Club where the U.S. Open was held last spring. When the Country Club opened many years ago, the first group stepped up to the first tee, and the first golfer, the first hole was a par 3 at that time, the first golfer got a hole-in-one, and a lot of the people that had gathered to watch this new game thought, well, this is easy, this is pretty boring.
Those of you who know me know I'm not a golfer. My bowling score is about the same as my golf score. So it was more than just an everyday occurrence with me. 93 after 7 for Bob Moran, and he continues to pile them up. Time is running out for Dave Croumie.
By the way, as long as we're mentioning social notes, of course, people clamor for information about all of the members of the Stars and Strikes crew, and one thing we'd like to acknowledge is the fact that a short time before we began the new season here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our director Jim Murphy became Mr. Jim Murphy. Jim was married just a little over a month ago, and in fact, his lovely and charming and talented wife Susan is now a member of our crew here on Stars and Strikes. Jim said, if you're going to marry me, you're going to have to work.
Yeah. That was a nice event, I might say. Why don't we do it again next week? Spread eagle.
There was better TV coverage at that wedding than there was at most presidential news conferences. But seriously, congratulations to our director Jim Murphy and Susan Green.
$10 for Dave Croumie, 84. The time is running out.
Come on, Bob, you ready? Come on, too big, but put it away, put it away.
I think this is another one of those matches that Dave Croumie is going to go home and watch and find out that he
or
bowled.
maybe not.
Maybe not. And find out that he bowled a little better than the score indicates.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially early in the match, first string and a half. It looks like he's putting the ball right in the pocket, but not getting an awful lot to shoot at. As we mentioned, next week's opponent from Bow, New Hampshire, Dan Broder.
And it's been a while since Dan has been here.
Dan is out of the stable of Boutwell's Bowling Center. Does his training there. Seven, 8, 9.
Don't see this very often.
Wants that wood to stop. Got a shot. Red line should sweep him across.
For Bob, and a 122 for a three-string total of 362. It's still mathematically possible for Dave Croumie.
He hasn't thrown a strike all day. Now he's going to have a few of them. In fact, yes, we've had one strike.
Just that one, the first mark of the match, way back in the first string by Bob, and that will do it. Dave needed 3 or 4 strikes in a row to get started, to have a shot in the 10th.
I'm just going to say, this is when it usually happens. You need strikes. When it's over, that's when you throw them.
Well, even if he were to strike out with 2 more, he'd come up 7 pins short.
Next week, challenger Dan Broder comes in, number 1 seed, and it's for the big money, for $1,000 and $500 to the runner-up. But more important, we'll have our first entry into the Tournament of the Champions at the end of the year.
124 for Dave Croumie as he wins 2 of the 3 strings, but drops the decision, 362 to 345. Bob Moran makes it 2 in a row. We'll be back with conversation with the bowlers and a drawing for the bonus ball contest. They were better than the final score would show.
I was trying to work on either way, trying to find some little claw that I could do, but I couldn't find anything. So.
Well, you brought a lot of fans with you, and we like to see that. And we hope to see you back again real soon, Dave. Don't stay away so long.
I won't this time.
All right.
Thanks,
Dave. All right. Dave Croumie from Peterborough, dropping this one, but does get the $250 runner-up check. And now Bob Moran over on lane 31 as we try for $180 in the bonus ball contest. And look at that. He started the match with a strike, and now he ends the day with another strike. And it's not a match, unfortunately, for Don Wilson of Manchester, New Hampshire. So for Don, thanks for sending in the card, and we'll be sending you a TV50 NHCBA desk pen. And for this man, a trip to the ladder championship match next week against Dan Broder.
Thank you. I hope I got a little bit left. Family wanted me to bring my baby up here if I won. The only problem is he's 6'2" and weighs 195 pounds, and I got a lot of bowling left in me here.
Well, maybe you can bring him up if you win next week.
Well, we'll consider that. We'll see what happens.
All right.
One step at a time.
All right. $1,000 on the line next week. Dan Broder had a great roll-off. I'm sure you must have seen at least a part of that or heard about it.
Oh, he did it. He did it. Yeah. That was a tough score to shoot at.
Was over 700, a terrific score, and of course you just missed it by not too much yourself, about 11 pins, as I recall.
Well, it's not the number, it's the position.
Right.
You know, and I was fortunate. I got up there in the top 5, and I'll take all of them, all those I can get.
Well, you're in position now. You got the 2 wins, and we'll see you next week for that championship match.
Thank you, Doug.
All right.
Thank you.
Bob Moran with 2 wins in a row. And we're out of time, so be sure and join us next Sunday at the same time here on TV50 for Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our series championship match. $1,000 to the winner, our number 1 seed, Dan Broder, and our number 3 seed and 2-time winner, Bob Moran. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 sports crew, Doug Brown, bye-bye, everybody, from Park Place Lanes.